So for those of you who are out there listening and watching, you will see me. My name is Brett Michelson. I'm the Executive Regional Director for the Council of International Investigators. We are hosting the 2024 CII AGM, which is the annual general meeting in Bogota, Colombia. This is the very first time that CII has ever hosted a conference in South America. We did host in 2017 in Panama. Panama is not considered a part of South America, so that's the caveat right there. As a matter of fact, some say it's not even a part of Central America. It's kind of in betweeny. But here we are. And I have with me James Pyle. Now, James Pyle is new to us, but he's definitely not new to the world when it comes to speaking, writing, and doing a few amazing things around the world. I would rather he give us a little bit about his background. So why don't you tell us, James, who are you? What is your background, and how did you become, well, an expert in human behavior and interrogation techniques, which is our topic?
Well, I'm the oldest guy in the room. I can tell you that right now. I was born 5 years before rock and roll music in September 1950 in the Midwest here in this town where I'm at right now, broadcasting with you. I came to know this skill set, came to know this ability, honestly, mostly through life and through learning and living and observing. I've been a salesperson long before I joined the Army and became an interrogator. And that sales experience helped me to hone my interrogation skills, because that's all interrogation is. It's just a good bit of sales. And but I used to sell something nobody else wanted and everybody needs, and cemetery property. So if you can sell cemetery property, you can do some interrogation investigation, because you have to listen, you have to watch, and you have to be a part of what's happening with people to motivate them. There's 3 things people will not give you. I used to say there was 2, and that was money and information. They won't give you time either. And so you have to have a skill set to get their time, to get the information, to make the close, the sale, the exchange of information, especially in investigation. So I had a lot of experience before I joined the Army in 1984 at age 33, and I was assigned to be an interrogator, and that brought me to DLI, which helped us meet. And then I was an instructor at the interrogation school, which helped us meet again, and come to this place where we are going to be in Bogota together. And I'm excited about that for sure. But my experience is 20 years Army interrogator, interrogator trainer, debriefer, debriefer trainer, post-Army career doing the same thing for DOD. We developed and actually executed the only non-service interrogation school for DOD after I came out of the Army with the Phoenix Consulting Group, and did that for 5 years. And so we have, creds, we have experience. We certainly continue to train. So I put that in my books, and I put that in my preparations and presentations to this day.
Excellent. Yep. And for what it's worth, I wasn't trying to keep this a secret or anything. I was going to hold this off until the conference, but we actually met back in 1989, and that was at DLI, like you mentioned. In 89, I arrived there in January, and I think we met. You were in the Spanish course. I actually started off in Arabic, and so I started the Spanish course in June. So we must have met June, very specifically June 1989.
Yes, and that was towards the end of my time there doing Arabic, and I left in January or February of 90.
Okay.
If I remember right. I've been blessed with a good forgetter, so if I put the dates wrong, I apologize.
We're all about the moment, forget about the past.
Yeah,
Almost quite literally. So then from there, you went on to Arizona, or you went on the
let's
interrogation?
see. No, I went. I was assigned to the Pentagon.
Or,
Well, I was Arizona for a short, and then to the Pentagon, J2, Counter Drug South America,
okay,
with the JTIC Joint Tactical Intelligence Center, and that was 4.5 years of perfect Army experience, working with the Colombia branch of the. We're going to get Pablo Escobar
yeah,
mission, and we did. And
yes,
I was part and parcel of that, and worked with the Venezuela embassy as well. So that was a very, very rare earth experience for this interrogator, this enlisted Army guy. There were only two Army interrogators assigned to the Pentagon, and the other gentleman was doing Central America stuff.
okay, excellent, excellent. So when it comes to human behavior, because as we understand, the best way to understand how to interrogate is to understand human behavior.
Yes.
And how crucial do you think it is to understand human behavior in the field of private investigations, however, and why?
Well, well, we have two eyes, we have two ears, and
Mhm.
we're trained to use the mouth. But we're not trained so much to use the ears. We're not trained so much to use our eyes. But you can't do what we do without employing every aspect of your being to understand every aspect of the other person's being. Maslow's hierarchy. You want to meet them where they are. They're down low on the hierarchy. You got to take care of immediate needs. You got to take care of survival needs. You got to take care of to eliminate fear. You got to take care to deal with all those things. If they're farther up the scale, you might have to do some more magic. But but really, I went to college and I learned a lot about counseling psychology. I went to sales. I learned a lot about sales, and interrogation was just a combination of all that. And that's why I think they put me in the schoolhouse right away, because I was an older person with a lot of street experience. Uh, if you come into the Army as a young person, you're really at a deficit because your street experience is more limited. But as you're at your age and my age, that's the real that's a real level of operational skill set. But really, you got to be able to look at people and understand people. I look at people every day and I try to understand what's going on with them. I look at people who are sad. I look at people who are happy. And I look around their context to always try to understand what they may be sensing or feeling or being aware of.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Not that this is necessarily has anything to do with anything at all, but one of the things that I like to do is whenever we get into a conflict scenario, usually one-on-one, and we'll see this a lot in personal service relation type scenarios, whether it's a receptionist has to deal with somebody and that person's just irate. I usually like to try to understand, where did he just now come from? Why is he so angry? Because a lot of times anger has absolutely nothing to do with the scenario. Because you can take any
Mhm.
situation and you can react to it in any way. So I like to try to take it a step back and then further back and then further back. And sometimes you have to go back so far and not even ask the question, just kind of look at the person and understand the person and see where they're coming from, not just off the street,
Mhm.
to try to isolate the real reason that the person is angry, and then use that to help that person calm down. And it's
Sure.
maintaining calm and whatnot. So it's all about that human behavior aspect. So
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
um,
To care enough to think through it, to process it with them, you find a connection, and that's so important for who we are and what we do. Find a connection first, and then bring empathy to it, bring experience to it, and then manage it. A lot of people would say that, our business is manipulation. And I say, no, our business is management.
yeah,
And that management helps us to help other people.
yeah,
And if we're on a mission, then it helps us to perform the mission as well. But we have to be able to manage people and understand them in the process. So, and I take advantage of that. If I'm in the line at DMV, the worst place to ever be is waiting at, Department of Motor Vehicles, and the people are upset, and they're giving the person behind the desk a lot of trouble, and the next person gives them a lot of trouble. I show up and I want to tell them, you must have a really difficult job, and I'm glad that you do what you do, and I can't do what I do without you doing what you do, and I hope that you can help me today.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
So I've changed the energy, and
Yeah.
that usually favors what I need to get done.
All right. There's a book that I'm reading right now, as a matter of fact, and boy, I wanted to remember it, but you just pulled a passage right out of it. So Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss speaks exactly about that. And he says, if you want to get an upgrade, it's almost about sales more than anything else. If you want to get an upgrade at a hotel, take advantage of the other person that just went over and screamed at the receptionist and or the clerk, whatever the case may be, and just say, boy, wow, that guy really had had something going on here. You really handled that well. Yeah, I congratulate you. Can I get an upgrade? So it really is about understanding. It's empathy. It's understanding the other person, and it plays an important role in investigations as well. Just the same thing.
Sure.
And you need to get information, and you're not going to get it by yelling at somebody. You're going to keep the person down. Yeah. So
we need to rent a car down in Miami, and we're on government payroll and such. So they want you to have a nice little compact car, just enough room for the people and luggage. And we drove away with the Lincoln Navigator on the same contract. And that's the high end of the skill set. But doesn't always work that way, but sometimes it does.
So based on everything we've talked about, we mentioned that part of your seminar, the seminar you're going to give us, is in relation to the isolation of certain aspects and certain levels of video that you've seen, or a scenario in general. What can you explain this concept about what we've seen here during an investigation?
Okay. Back when I wrote the book, Body Talk Animated, I introduced young people to animated movies so that they can isolate certain aspects of body language, so that while they're enjoying the movie and being entertained by the movie, they can also understand body language, because the animators are the greatest body language interpreters and presenters on the planet. No question about it. They can show you yourself back with your eyes, with your hands, with whatever it is you do. The animation is just to bring to life. And so there's great animation in great movies in animation that I think as a kid, I learned a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, and I could identify those from the movies I watched. The Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs isn't about seven dwarfs. It's about seven emotions, seven characters, and seven traits. And so you learn about bashfulness. You learn about Doc, who's very strong and very abrupt. And you see these people in your life, and so you make these associations. So what I like to do is have to isolate, and by isolate I mean to present, maybe to watch an animated movie or segment with no sound, and you only see what you see, which is how the deaf people in the world have to do with body language. They're the best body language readers because they're not distracted by what they hear. And so I invite people to watch without hearing, and then also then to do it in reverse, to hear without watching, because we're not really tuned to listen very well. But blind people hear the best of anybody in the world. So by watching as the deaf, hearing as the blind, you isolate some elements that help you to, once again, when you see it again with the sound and the video, you saw something you didn't see before, you heard something you didn't hear before. And that also applies to any other thing that you might want to do to watch For instance, there was a Senate hearing with Brett Kavanaugh, a nominee to the Supreme Court, and a lady who contested his nomination due to an experience they had years and years ago. Well, in the Senate hearing wasn't for discovery, it was for presentation. There was no real discovery to be had by that. But what I did with that was to watch the whole thing without the sound, to see the emotion, to see what I saw. Then I listened the whole thing without the video, and I heard things that I would be distracted by otherwise. And so with that, I do it with those kind of things. Most recently, I did it with the president's rally where he was shot with an attempted assassination. Instead of watching the president, I got interested in the people behind. And I think I saw some things there that are significant because I isolated them out of this main activity. And so I think that helps to learn the trade. I think it helps to get best information.
Yeah.
And so
I
that's why.
actually went through that exercise. I went back and I saw that video and I did exactly what you said. And there was a couple of interesting things. There's actually a woman that was in the back that you had said there was a woman behind him that immediately went to the ground, like was
Yeah,
very
yeah.
smart.
Disappeared. Yeah.
But there was actually another person who did not. There was another person that was behind him that 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 was almost like raised something up, put it down, and then the shot happened, and then she started filming. And
Mhm.
it was, I was like, oh, wow, what about the possibility of that person being involved somehow,
Uh-huh.
it was interesting. It was, trying to pick something else out of the crowd other than, because everybody is tunnel vision focused
Yeah.
on the bullet, or
Right.
Trump or whatever,
Mhm.
or maybe, how did the Secret Service react? Did they react properly? Whatever.
And
Nobody's
all
looking
that's
at the
interesting,
crowd.
and it's all interesting, and it's all there to learn from. Um, I think I could look through that crowd, and I think I can tell you some people who were either military or prior military,
Yeah,
based on the fact how they were scanning, looking for any other threat
yeah,
in that process, and so that became my distraction, but yet it's part of what I do naturally.
right. Fantastic. So based off that, what do you think are some common mistakes investigators make when interpreting human behavior, and how can they avoid them?
Uh, Always the biggest thing that we always try to disclaim, and I say we, because I'm part of a body language body that I think is the top shelf for sure. The behavior panel, four of the top five uh, body behavior people in the world, rated by global gurus, um, year after year. They're in the top spots. Mark Bowden, Greg Hartley, Chase Hughes, and Scott Rouse. If you want to learn body language, you want to be immersed in body language, check out the behavior panel on YouTube every Thursday, 12:30. They've been doing it for 4 years, and they just did it one time as a fun thing to do, and now they have nearly 1 million subscribers, and they are the best of the best. So I'm part and parcel with them. I have associations with them, and I learn from them. And so that the body language is so important. If you're not watching, you're missing, and if you're not listening, you're missing. If you don't understand, and the biggest thing that most people have is that they try to play the absolutes. Well, he touched his nose. That means he's lying. No, he's got a
Yeah, he's got an itch.
now there's some science to that because there's so many blood vessels that are very thin in your nose, and it could be sometimes that's the case, but there's no absolutes. He crossed his arms. That means he's disinterested. No, that means he might be comfortable. It's like that. But so the absolutes are the problem that distract from good body language, good body reading. So it's just a matter of how I see you now
Right.
and how we talk and how I question you, and I get your baseline. based on how you respond to questions that I would ask that have a factual, non-emotional or non-emotional response to that question. And then I get your baseline. And then when something changes from our discussion, I won't call it an interrogation because I try not to think of anything that we do as anything more than a conversation. But when something changes, I go right back to what I was talking about before that and see if that's something I need to be interested in. And chances are it is,
Yeah.
you know, and so again, not believing in the absolutes is the best thing to start with. And then learn baselining is the next most important area.
Excellent, excellent. So you mentioned that you've written a couple of books. One of them is Find Out Anything from Anyone, Anytime. I know that you were not so certain about that as a title starting off. What would have been a better title? Or what was the title you wanted to
I
do?
know everything about anything without knowing nothing.
No, I think by far that would have been a funnier title for starters, and maybe even a little bit more accurate. But could you share a key takeaway from that book that investigators should keep in mind?
Sure, sure. And let me say this, that there's not a lot of interrogation in that book. It's just good, basic, sound questioning. I taught questioning when you came through the school at Fort Huachuca.
Mhm.
248 slides, 5 days, 40 hours, 8 hours a day. Slides were just blue with gold letters, nothing pretty, nothing fun. And it was mind numbing.
Yeah,
Every
it was
question,
overwhelming.
every subject,
Yeah.
about every situation.
Mhm.
And it was absolutely the hardest block of instruction to teach. And that's why I took it. Because my grandfather said, you get a job nobody else wants, and you got job security. And I did. And so I trained that, but it was so mind numbing and so difficult and so heavy that when I came out of the Army in 2004, and in 2005, we were commissioned to have a interrogation school to certify non-service members. I changed that block of instruction to 4 hours
Oh,
by by not teaching every question, but teaching a formula of questions
yeah,
that can apply to everything.
yeah.
And I've always enjoyed that much more. I think it's been more functional. I think it's been proven to be effective. And so the takeaway from the book, Find Out Anything from Anybody Anytime, is just a good questioning discipline, and it's mostly driven by curiosity,
Mhm.
some absolutes in questioning, which are always start your question with an interrogative.
Mhm.
And when you get an answer, this okay, I'm going to stop right here and say the hardest thing to learn as an interrogator student or as an investigator student, I think, is follow up.
Yeah,
Because following the bouncing balls, the shiny object, is how people miss so much in this business. And so if you ask a question and you get an answer, ask that question again, because nobody gives you all the information about anything from that first answer.
right.
I promise with my hand over my heart, they will not do that. Uh, Most investigators, if interrogators or people, if I'm talking to you and you're one of the bad guys in the world, and I say, what were you doing when you got, you know, wrapped up and brought to me? Well, I was installing an IED. Most people are going to jump right on that, go right after that. But the next best question is, what else were you doing?
Else, yeah, yeah,
But most people won't do that.
yeah.
So if you ask a question and you get an answer, ask that again. That's follow up. That's the hardest thing to learn, the easiest thing to teach. But and then of course just to fully exploit the four areas: people, places, things, events, and time. People say, I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what to ask a question about. Well, there's only four things in the world: people, places, things, and events in time. So if you start with one, you got to go through the other three.
Yeah.
So the book is about that.
Excellent, excellent. On that note, I have a friend and a client, somebody I admire highly. His name is Raymond Harari. Raymond is the patriarch to a very large family in Panama. And one of the things that he taught me was to ask why. So why is one of the simplest questions you can ask.
Mhm.
You can say, if he asks you a question, he'll start off with a basic question and he'll say, why did you show up late? Well, I got stuck in traffic. Why? Well, because traffic was bad. Okay, why? Well, it was bad because I think there was an accident. Well, why? Well, because the person, I guess, was driving poorly. Why? And it's because the culture of the country. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's because the Americans invaded. I have no idea. Sometimes it's frustrating, but it's fascinating. He likes to use it for sales. I think he likes to use it for just basic, beautiful curiosity. And I love it. And so what I'll try to do even now with some of the interviews that we've had to do is, if I'm not really sure where we're supposed to go with it, I'll stick on the why questions. And it's amazing how prior to the person becoming frustrated, I'll stick to the whys up into that very gray area point. But yeah, that's actually a pretty interesting way to advance sometimes in your interviews.
Well, in our business, it's easy to find the person, for instance, just isolate somebody not being honest with you. Okay.
Yeah.
They're not being forthcoming, not being honest. That's easy to detect.
Right.
That's easy to verify. But why the lie is the answer that you're looking for.
Exactly.
Because you find out why, then you can manage that and get the information you look for, get the cooperation you need. And that's the real challenge, is why the lie.